for satsang. So it's so beautiful to be back together in this sacred garden, this beautiful and divine time together. So we have, as always, questions that come in advance, that people send in advance. But today, since we're gathering for the first time in so long, before taking any of those, I want to just give those who are here an opportunity. If anyone has a question burning in their heart right away, we can start with that, or we can start with one that has come in advance. Yes.
So I'm Abhishek Singh, I'm from Delhi, and currently I'm a student of MSc Mathematics, Delhi University. So one thing, I was there on 4th of July, so when Swami Vivekanandaji's Punyatithi was celebrated, so I wanted to meet you, but I wasn't. So today I'm here again with my friends to meet you, so today I have that fortune. So one thing that I want to know is that how to have that belief in myself steady and not be deviated by any bhram, because I think that deep down inside we all know that what is right, what is righteous and what is wrong. But how to make that belief so stable that any bhram, bhay, bhatkan is not able to deviate us from our path. Because youth like us have energy, have conviction, but there's some disturbance, I think. So that belief is not strong enough sometimes. So that focus is deviated. So for that I want to...
Beautiful. Beautiful. This is true about the youth. It's true about everyone. Sadly, I would love to say, ki don't worry, chinta mat karo thoda sa, older ho jao, brahm dur ho jayega. But that's not actually how it happens. Until and unless we actually work on it, we keep being pulled off our path. We keep being pulled off it. There's two aspects. The first and most important is the actual connection to the self. And then the second is the freeing ourselves from all of that which tries to pull us off. The first piece is we have to actually be anchored in knowing who we are. Now, we may know intellectually in our minds, read some book, heard some lecture, maybe heard a parent talking about it, heard it in a mandir somewhere. Ki, you are the divine. You are one with God. We learn Aham Brahmasmi, right? We learn these teachings. But there's a very big difference between knowing it, as in, here's a mathematical equation and my teacher says it's true and all the really smart people say it's true, so I believe it. And actually knowing something for yourself. So you take, for example, so much that we learn about in physics classes or chemistry classes. Now, we know it only because we've read it in a book or the teacher has said. We don't necessarily have personal experience with it. I couldn't tell you from my personal experience, here's what the ratio of, matter to velocity looks like. I don't know. But then there are things that we've actually experienced, like gravity. Jump up, you fall down. Throw up a ball, it comes down. Now, I could say to you, gravity doesn't exist. But you know it does. And the moment that you doubt it, all you have to do is jump up. And as you jump down, you remember, yes, it exists. वो कुछ भी कहें, gravity exists. So, in terms of being with ourself, the first piece is it has to be knowledge that we actually know. If it's just something I've read, just something I've heard, तो फिर काफी हल्का होता है. And we get distracted very easily from it. When it's something we really know, we're anchored in it much more firmly. For example, let's say you're raised to be a vegetarian. Now, you don't know why. Your parents have never told you why. They've just said कि meat तो पाप है, नहीं खाना है. Now, you're a vegetarian. You know this is what we have to be. But then suddenly maybe you're with friends, you're somewhere else, you've gone somewhere, and people say, chalo bas ek bite koshish karo, usme kya badi baat hai? Bahut achhi cheez hai. And you start to get distracted. You start to get pulled off. Because you didn't really know why you were a vegetarian to begin with. But now imagine that from deep within you, you feel that love for animals. You feel the fact that they are one. That life in them. Or you learn the statistics about what the meat industry is doing to our planet, how it's contributing to the destruction of the environment, how it's contributing to world hunger. Now you are pakka. Now it doesn't matter what somebody says. You know that one hamburger took as much water to create as you use in bathing for 6 months. Now we're all trying to save water. You want to be environmentally conscious. You know this hamburger. This is the worst thing I can do. Not just for the cow, but it's the worst thing I can do for the environment, for everything I believe in. Now you're pakka. So in the same way, your knowledge of yourself has to be pakka to begin with. It cannot be halka. And for that you need your spiritual practice. Because I can sit here all we want and I can tell you, you are divine. You are the soul. You are spirit. You're not the body. We can read the Bhagavad Gita together. We can listen to Bhagavan Krishna telling us we're not the body. But until you've had that actual experience, it's going to be very easy to be pulled off of that path. So first, give yourself all of the opportunities to actually have the experience. Meditate, pray, come to holy places, sit at the feet of holy saints, come to satsang. You're doing all the right things. Allow yourself to really know. Then, as you move through your world, and as you get distracted, Maya se, ya apni mobile se, the Maya to tab se hai. You know, we blame the mobiles for Maya, but Maya's existed long before we had mobiles. The mobiles have just given us another source of distraction. But Maya to tab se hai. Whether it's just Maya in general, or whether it's actually the mobiles, whether it's peer pressure, whether it's marketing, advertising, selling you things. Acha, if you wore those jeans, you'd be much cooler, then you'd be much happier. Or man thoda sa lag jate usme. When you don't know who you really are. When you know who you are, then you know. It's not about the jeans I wear, okay? I have full freedom. I can buy whatever brand I like, no problem. I can have as many pairs as I want, no problem. But they don't define me. It's not who I am. I don't need them to be cool. I don't need an article of clothing to know who I am. Because you're pakka. And so those are the two parts. One, stay anchored and grounded. But two, the more aware you can be of when you're getting distracted, the less it will be able to distract you. We get distracted because we're unconscious. Do you know you actually burn fewer calories watching TV or scrolling online than you do when you're asleep? Now, I mention that to you because our brains are less active watching TV or scrolling social media than when we sleep. We are unconscious. Literally, our eyes are open. But for all practical purposes, we are unconscious. And what that means is we act from the unconscious. It says, press here, buy now. We press here, we buy now. It says, shop now, we shop now. We've lost our ability to be conscious. So stay aware, stay conscious, stay grounded, stay focused. And you'll be able to stay strong when you've got it within you. So both of these two together will keep you very pakka, very strong. Beautiful. Wonderful question. We need youth like you, really on the path. We need youth like you in our societies, in our communities, in our nation, in our world. I always say, for our youth, it's not about what we teach them in school. It's about 3 C's. Connection to themselves, to their culture, to the divine. That connection gives us courage to really live our path and not just be a slaves ki samne wale kya sochenge, padosi kya kahega. नहीं तो पूरा जिंदगी उसमें चले जाते, वो सामने वाले क्या सोचेगा. So it gives us courage to really live our path. And it gives us creativity then, from the courage. Because you need creativity today. The problems we face are like problems we've never faced before. The old solutions are what created the problem. They're not going to solve it. So our youth today need not more memorization, not more just read this, memorize this, and give it back on an exam. But they need to be connected, and then courageous, and then creative. So, beautiful. Of course. Of course. Does anyone else have a question? Yes. He's just bringing you the mic.
Thank you. My name is Anna. I'm from Moldova. I came to India by like a calling to...
Beautiful.
It's more like a spiritual journey for me. So I came in the search of myself. My question is, when one knows that you found what you are looking for?
When do you know? You'll know inside of you. You'll know inside. The first question you have to really ask yourself is, what am I looking for? If you're not clear on the question, you won't be clear on the answer. So a lot of us think, for example, a lot of people these days are looking for, when will I find my higher purpose? My dharma. Now, the dilemma comes that actually what they're looking for is something that's going to be exciting and romantic and glamorous, and everybody's going to appreciate me, love me for it. But our purpose, our dharma, is not always glamorous, not always fun, not always something that's romantic and gets us a lot of appreciation. Sometimes it's something that nobody even knows we've done, because we've done it so quietly and from behind the scenes so much. So the first thing you've really got to ask yourself is, what am I really looking for? Because only then will you know it when you find it. If I say to the universe, I'm looking for my purpose, and then I find that my purpose is cooking rice and dal to feed it to poor people, but nobody notices that I'm doing that. And nobody's appreciating me, and nobody's posting about it on social media, and nobody's giving me any kind of humanitarian awards for it. And so then I decide, well, maybe it's not my purpose. Because I realize, well, actually what I was looking for wasn't so much the purpose itself, but I was looking for a purpose that was also going to give me all of that appreciation and belonging and love that I'm really looking for. So you've got to be clear. What are you really looking for? Because your purpose may be to make food and feed it to the poor, and nobody may ever notice. But if that's your purpose, then all of the joy that you would get by being on the cover of God knows how many magazines, you won't get that until you start feeding the poor. Because that's your dharma. That's your purpose. So before you can know whether you found it, you have to know, what am I looking for? What am I really looking for? And when you're really clear on what you're looking for, then when you found it, you'll know. Because suddenly it will click, and you will stop needing to look. The dilemma comes when we found what we're looking for, but it's not necessarily quite as romantic as we thought it might be, or quite as glamorous as we thought it might be. You know, a lot of times people say, well, I'm looking for my soulmate. I'm looking for that love. But when you start talking to them, what you find is that really what they're looking for, like their criteria for that soulmate, has almost nothing to do with actually being connected in the soul. And it has everything to do with how much that person's going to make, what they're going to look like, all of these other things that have nothing to do with the soul. And you realize, you're not looking for a soulmate. You're looking for, a GQ cover. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you what's a right thing or a wrong thing to look for. Just to say that you've got to be clear. And when you're clear, for example, if you know it is my soulmate I'm looking for, then when you find it, the soul knows. If what you're looking for is really peace and joy and happiness on a deep level. I mean, that's what happened for me. I was looking for happiness. I didn't know I was looking for happiness, but we're all always looking for happiness. But I was raised in a culture in America that tells you, well, happiness comes in the degrees that you get and the money that you make and the clothes that you wear and the way that you look in the clothes that you wear. And so that's what I was doing. And when I came here, I experienced that real happiness. And by God's grace, just through blessings, just through grace, just through that miracle, I recognized it. I mean, I couldn't deny it. It literally knocked me to the ground and made me sob. But I was able to really accept it and embrace it, even though it didn't come in the box that I always thought happiness was going to come in. But a a lot of us, I think, people say, oh, I wish I had what you had. I wish I found what you found. And I actually think that possibility is there for a lot more people. I don't think God said, her. I'm going to give her this possibility for happiness. It's there for all of us. And I think a lot of people experience it. But I think a lot of us in our minds, because it's not the package that we thought happiness would come in, we push it away. We deny it. We get stuck in worrying, what are the neighbors going to think? What's this one going to say? It's not what I always thought it would look like. And so we don't actually accept it. So we know, on a deep core level, we know we have found it. But we don't actually let ourselves embrace it. So you need to know what you're really looking for. And then realize when you find it, that's the most important thing in your life. Because that's what you've been looking for. And it may be in a completely different box than you thought it would be. It may be completely different packaging than you thought it would be. A different form than you thought it would be. But when you found it, you know. And I can tell you from experience that it's not always easy. But grabbing hold of that thing you have found is actually the key to life. Yeah. Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening. We will gather for satsang again tomorrow. And then we will officially start satsang on the 10th. So we have satsang today and tomorrow, then we won't have it through the 9th and then again on the 10th. But if you're here in town, join us again tomorrow. Beautiful.